Hello, I'm a very important researcher, as you can tell by my fancy hat and my mustache. In the past couple of years, I've been researching this interesting creature. You've probably never heard of it. Dragons? You've heard of dragons. You probably don't know a lot about them at all, like anything about them really. Well, even if you have taken dragons at Purdue University, like I have in my youth, or you haven't, and you just know a lot about them, I'm gonna drop 10 new scientific findings that I had about dragons that you've probably never heard before. Let's go! 10 things you never knew about dragons. Number 1, dragons have very light bones. I know, this is not something that's really interesting to you, but it should be. The reason why dragons are so big and can still fly is because their bones are so light. They're just light and nimble, like little birds. But the difference is that because dragons get so big, they need their bones to still be supportive, which is why they're probably not made of actual bone, but are like vibranium or adminium. I think that's how it's spelled. You know what Wolverine's bones are made of? That, but light. So it's like vibranium, like Captain America's shield. Number 2, dragons like to make the ground shake. Like that. The reason why dragons land so hard on the ground is because they like it when the ground shakes beneath their feet. Okay? They like feeling powerful. They're like, yeah, I caused that earthquake. Well, guess what, buddy? It wasn't an earthquake. It was just a little bit of shaking, okay? They land really heavily on the ground because they're kind of arrogant, okay? Number 3, the reason why dragons hoard their treasure is because it reminds them of their mom. I know you're probably thinking, that makes no sense at all. Let me explain. Dragons have really shiny scales, okay? When dragon moms are laying in a cave amidst their nest, and they've built this fire so that their baby dragons can keep warm, fire is shooting off the scales to make light. It makes everything in the room shiny. Dragons hoard treasure because when they breathe fire around said treasure, everything in the room gets all shiny and sparkly, like it did when they were young, when their mom was around. Baby dragons around shiny things are way more calm. So the reason why dragons continue to make hoards of shiny things is because they miss their moms. I hope you're sad now. Number 4, dragons are really reserved in their emotions because otherwise the apocalypse would have already happened. Now I know what you're thinking. I've been around a lot of dragons and all of them are really angry. Yeah, because they have to suppress all their emotions all the time. The few times that they do let out an outburst, it's only when they're angry. And then everything gets broken. I'd knock over one of these candles, but then the house would catch on fire. And this isn't my house, I just broke into it. You see? When dragons get really, really happy, or they're laughing really hard, they start breathing fire. When dragons get really angry, they start breathing fire. When dragons get sad, they can't cry, so they start breathing fire. They have to suppress their emotions, or else everything burns. Number 5, mammalian pregnancy terrifies them. I know, you've probably never spoken to a dragon in person, but I've spoken to 6, and all of them can confirm that dragon pregnancy scares them. Now I understand that it's a very small study, and I probably should have interviewed 12 before coming to this conclusion. But only 6 of them would talk to me. The other 6 were intimidated by my mustache. Dragons lay eggs, as you might know, because they're kind of like reptiles. They lay eggs, and the egg gets a little bit bigger, and the baby dragon inside also gets bigger. They don't have to carry around the baby on their belly for 9 months, 10 months. They don't have to carry around the baby for 10 months. They don't have to deal with it. They just leave it in the cave, they breathe fire on it every so often so it can stay warm. Then they go on and do their dragon things. They collect treasure and burn villages. So, when they come across a person who's carrying a child in their belly, I know this, I am a man of science, they get a little freaked out because they're like, why can't you just lay an egg and leave it in your cave? And then the people say, oh, first, a dragon. Second of all, I don't have a cave. To which the dragon's like, where do you live then? Conclusion, dragons are scared of pregnancies, okay? So if you're pregnant, stay away from dragons or you'll scare them and they'll probably burn down the village. Number 6, Dragons are really proud creatures. Therefore, they like to be really confusing to make you think they're smarter. People who are around dragons all the time, like me, can see right through their bullcrap. They can attest to the fact that dragons are just really wordy and that they're really not much smarter than people. For example, Smog. That guy, he just went on and on, not getting to the point. He liked to speak in riddles, not because he wanted to challenge Bilbo intellectually, but because he's just a big fat jerk. Now that's something you might have learned in Tolkien class, that Smog was just really trying to test Bilbo's intelligence and that it was a battle of the wits. Professor Hughes was wrong. Dragons are just jerks, so they like to confuse you. Shout out Professor Hughes. Number 7, dragons can't read. They don't have the right brains for it. Not that that's a bad thing. Birds don't have the right brains for reading either. Neither do cats or dolphins, but they're still all really intelligent. Maybe not the birds. Dragons don't need to read, though. It's okay. Number 8, the reason why dragons don't need to read is because they have really good memories. If you told this dragon, Billy Joe, 26 years ago, that on February 11th, you're going to ask Donna out to the homecoming, it would remember that and then question you now and say, did you ever ask Donna out on February 11th to the homecoming? To which you might have said, I don't even know who Donna is anymore. I for sure as heck don't. Probably because I wasn't alive 26 years ago. I was alive 27 years ago though. This is why you should never ever tell dragons anything, because they will use it against your will. Because 1, they're jerks. And 2, they'll always remember it. Number 9, dragons are innately good at math. It's been theorized that dragons were the ones who taught us math in the first place. The theory is probably wrong. Not because I was the one who theorized it, but because humans also know how to get to math. You see, dragons know how fast to fly to get to a certain place at a certain time. They don't have to do all the algebra in their heads. Also, dragons are really good at calculus. I know this because I passed calculus by asking George here how to do my homework. And I might have kept him in my backpack during the AP exam in high school 28 years ago. Number 10, dragons don't care about econ. Now this is something that really hits home for me because I study econ as well as science, and it just really hurts that dragons don't want to listen to me talk about econ. They tell me all the time they're not interested. And I tell them, but it's human behavior plus math. And they're like, stop talking, your mustache is weird. Which means that they're extra jerky because they're wrong, my mustache is amazing. I mean, they have a governmental system. They have a hierarchy. Why don't they also want an economic system as well? Why don't they care about the flow of money? So I hope you learned something from this. I hope you learned these 10 things you never knew about dragons. And I hope that if you ever take Professor Armstrong's and Professor Powell's dragon class at Purdue University, you tell them that you know more about dragons. Not than they do, but than most of the people in your class. Because you also know these 10 things that Professor Powell and Professor Armstrong don't know, and will never know. Bye!